So welcome everybody. We're just letting a couple of minutes pass by while we allow people to join the meeting. If this is your first visit to the Getting Things Done for Managers Meetup group, welcome. It's great to have you along. As you hopefully saw on the Meetup site, essentially it's a group of productivity and time management enthusiasts who come together once a month to see what we can learn from each other, as well as some experts in this area who are often teachers, trainers, writers, people that are grappling with these challenges that we're all facing in our lives and our work, and trying to see how we can make some more kind of prudent progress. So I think we should kick off, Belinda. So let me welcome Belinda. Belinda, I'll let her introduce herself a bit. But we had her as a presenter 12 months ago, and she did a great presentation that was well received. So we wanted to invite her to come back and talk about the topic of building your second brain, which is a G2D concept. And there's a range of different ways you can do that and software that you can use. But particularly OneNote is one that's popular, and a range of people I'm speaking to want to stay within the Office 365 ecosystem. And it also means it's a way to do so without necessarily spending more money, because it's easy to get excited about productivity apps and software and kind of keep adding to your collection. But most people have access to OneNote. So it's been a popular topic in terms of registrations, and really looking forward to having Belinda share some of her experience and wisdom around the best ways to use OneNote to achieve the practice and application of G2D.
I will thank you for that little introduction. I will screen share, but it's disabled at the moment. So go, you able to just manage that for me?
Yeah, that's all sorted out.
Awesome. Let me go back in. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Awesome. So hopefully everybody can see my screen share at the moment. So welcome everyone who's coming to the session. My name is Belinda. As Glenn said, we're going to talk about, being able to manage and essentially build that second brain using OneNote. I am a bit of a Microsoft enthusiast, so I do like all of the productivity side of all the products. So I do try to utilize as much of those as I can within that ecosystem. So I do want to go through, sorry, and obviously just have a little chat about OneNote first, because there is some interesting stuff happening with OneNote at the moment as well. And then I'm going to go and demo, all of the nifty little things that you can do in OneNote. So starting off though, let me just get in here. Okay, so I've got to do the obligatory, about me. So I've been within the training industry for about 20 years now. So my really passionate thing is productivity and workflow. So when I am training classes, I don't focus on more so on this is all the things that you can do with OneNote or Excel or Word. I focus on the productivity side of it. So the things within the programs that really do boost your day-to-day processes that you're able to do. I do have some, different certifications as you go through. I'm not going to brag about them or anything like that, and, TAs and that sort of stuff. I do have a website that I will give you details for. It's just a training blog. So there is some OneNote content on there. I'm building up the OneNote content on that site, so it will keep progressing over the coming time. But essentially, we want to get in and have a look at OneNote and kind of talk about what it is. OneNote is essentially Microsoft's digital note-taking app. It's been around for quite a long time at the moment, but one of the things that I find still a lot of people don't realize is that it is actually a free program. So you don't need to necessarily have a Microsoft 365 subscription to use this app. It is available for free. So you can get it through the Microsoft Store if you don't already have it on your computer. You can also get it through the Apple Store as well. So the other thing that they do have nicely is they do have a dedicated website for OneNote. So it's OneNote.com. And you can get a lot of resources via that website. You can also download the app to install it from there as well. The big thing that I like about OneNote, and when I started using it, is the fact that I can stop having the thousands of little Post-it notes around on my desk. I was pretty notorious for that prior to kind of getting into OneNote and using its capabilities. And that's what I like about the fact that I know where all of my little ideas and notes and all that sort of stuff is sitting. And it's accessible from anywhere. So it doesn't matter whether I'm at my desk or I'm with a client and I've just had a really good idea, or if I'm on a train or wherever it might be, because the accessibility side of it means that I can access my files from wherever I need to. I did used to find that I used to email myself a lot of stuff as well. So if I found a website that I liked, browsing the internet at night or something like that, or an article, I would email it to myself all the time. So I'd end up with, 100 different emails in my inbox just from myself.
അതൊരു സാധനം ഉണ്ടാക്കാൻ ഇപ്പൊ ഭയങ്കര വില കൂടുതൽ. ഒരു ഡ്രിങ്ക് ഉണ്ടാക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി വാങ്ങിച്ചു.
So I think we just got a question. Is that a question, Glenn? No? All right, I think someone just came in. Yeah, so I like the accessibility side of it. OneNote, however, works brilliantly across both sides of your life. You can use it both within your business environment, but then it has some fantastic applications that we can work with on the personal side of it as well. So I'll give you some, case usage ideas in a second as well. Now, one of the things that I do personally is my OneNote, and they're called notebooks, are all stored within my cloud storage, so my OneDrive account. And that means obviously that gives me that accessibility across the different platforms as well. So that's a good one to include. Now, in terms of the note-taking side of it, I've actually got a little Wacom tablet I'm going to demo on as well today. So I'm going to show you some of the ink annotation options that you've got in there. And one of the other really great things that it has is OCR, so optical character recognition. So I'm going to demo how I can take a photo of a written piece of text out of a magazine, or, I could take a photo of a receipt, whatever it might be. I can send that straight into my OneNote, and OneNote will actually convert that over into editable text. So as if I had typed that straight into my OneNote. So I'll show you and demo that process as well. So some really, really good features like that within the app. Now, one of the things that does definitely cause confusion with OneNote is versioning, because a while ago, Microsoft tried to kind of they created two different versions of the app for two different main reasons. So one of them is OneNote for Windows 10. Okay, that normally comes pre-installed with any Windows 10 computer. Does work on Windows 11, by the way, as well. So a lot of people kind of discovered that sitting on their computers and went, oh, this is good, I'm going to use this. Now, what they also had was the desktop version, so the full software version that you would buy. So it was actually OneNote 2016. It was the last, top proper version that was released for this. But what they've been doing over the years is improving that, what we're calling the desktop app. So the one thing that I do find a little bit frustrating at the moment is there is different features in both of those different apps. So I actually run both of them on my computer, and I will switch between the two depending on what function I want to use. And obviously that's just a process of, I know what I can do in each app. So I just go to the one that I want to use. But one of the really nice things that happily was announced last year is that Microsoft is actually going to merge those two apps together, so that the features that OneNote for Windows 10 has that the OneNote desktop app doesn't are going to be merged into one. Now, they're saying that, well, they were kind of hinting that the launch of that would happen somewhere towards the end of this year. So what will happen with that is, if you are using OneNote for Windows 10, that will slowly be phased out. And you will at some stage get a little invitation through the app itself to upgrade and start using the OneNote desktop app. If you want to start doing that now, as I said before, it's a free download. You can go and grab the app and kind of, start utilizing the features of that. Just go to onenote.com/download. It'll let you download the desktop app, which will ultimately be the one that Microsoft keep, progressing and adding features through over the years. And then that will get you on your way with that. The other option that you do have as well is, if you do have a Microsoft 365 subscription, there is also OneNote Online, just to add in another way of accessing this. So if you randomly on a computer that's not normally yours, you can log into your Microsoft account, and you'll have access to your OneNote files through that as well. So you don't have to have the apps or your computer system. So there's a little bit of detail about that. I do actually have an article on my training website that helps you identify which versions you have and kind of clears the confusion around those. Now, just some usage ideas here, and I will give these to this PowerPoint to Glenn, so he might be able to distribute this or put up on the Meetup. But I've got some usage ideas here for business, and I use OneNote for both of these. I've obviously got all my business-based stuff within OneNote, and I do have separate files for all the different things that I do, and I'm going to show you a few of those shortly. But everything from project managing to resource collection. If you're collecting a lot of resources, especially around productivity, this is what we're talking about right now, and you're finding some really good articles on various websites and all that sort of stuff. You really need somewhere to centralize all of that information. OneNote's going to do that for you. So I have a resources OneNote file. I have one for all of my own professional development. So if I go to a conference or an online event and I take notes, which I do obviously, they're all in one location that I know that if I want to go back to those later on, I'm going to know where to find them. Everything, you can do meeting minutes in OneNote. We can record in it as well with audio and video. So you can record your meetings or interviews. I've done travel planning in it, all of that sort of stuff. So really there's no limitations in what you can use it for. It's just going to be using your imagination to what you can take out within your business and kind of centralize into OneNote itself. On a personal side, a whole heap of things we can do in here, everything from shopping lists, your to-do list. 2020, I planned my dream holiday, legitimately planned my dream holiday in Europe. COVID hit 2 weeks before I was meant to fly out. So I literally missed out on my holiday by 2 weeks, but I've still got it in OneNote. It's planned from the get-go right to the end. So I'll show you a demo of that. You could do new house builds and renos and all that sort of stuff. All that planning can be done in there. One really nice thing that I do like to do is, I don't know about you, but I forget what subscriptions I've got, who all of my various, car insurances and house insurances and all that sort of stuff are with. Centralize and put all of that into your OneNote. You can then share that with your partner or with your children if they're at that age. And so everybody has access to it. Things like putting your household schedule into it. So if you want to say on Mondays that the kids have tennis, or Tuesdays we've got to go to this, we can kind of centralize all of that in OneNote, and that sharing function is fantastic to be able to collaborate within your own family as well. So that's just a little bit of an idea about OneNote itself. I'm sure we want to get in and do a bit of a demo now. So if you do have OneNote on your computer and you want to kind of play along with this, then as I go through, then by all means, please do. But otherwise, I'm just going to go through and demo as much as I can. All right, let me jump out of this. I've got my little browser running. All right. So I'm just going to show you first up the two versions of OneNote, because as I said, this definitely causes confusion. It's quite a popular article on my training blog. So people are definitely still finding confusion around these. So the app that you're looking at the moment is actually the full desktop app. So this was previously referred to as OneNote 2016. It's actually still titled that, even down in the little taskbar, the little icon, when you hover over it, it says OneNote 2016. The biggest way that I normally say to identify this is you have a proper ribbon across the top. So if you're used to using Word and Excel, you have a pretty full-featured ribbon appearing across the top here. I actually have a little add-in installed on mine, so you can go and get this just as a download from Microsoft's website. It's called Learning Tools. And what that does is it adds in two key features that I really like in OneNote that the actual desktop app didn't have. So immersive reader in the dictate function, and I'm going to demo both of those. But I'm going to do it through the other app because it is a little bit more fully featured in the other app. But I've got my little notebook here. You can see I'm currently in my resources notebook. And I always just say your OneNote notebook is exactly like you would have a folder sitting on your desk. So, I've got my good old trusty big A4 binder. I have my little tab dividers in it. I've got my pages in it. It's exactly the same. So the notebook itself is like the full folder. Then I have these little section tabs that I can create based on different topics that I want to have within this file. And then within that, I can have as many pages as I want. Now, the pages are quite, you know, spacey. I can put in stuff wherever I want. You can see I've got links in this one. This is my OneNote section. I've just got some resource links that I found over time. We can embed things like PDF files. You can embed Excel files. I'm going to show you how to embed YouTube videos into this, which I absolutely love in OneNote because it means you don't even have to go to the YouTube website to watch them. So your little sections are kind of creating that organization and structure for you. The little pages that we have down the list here, we can create a bit of a hierarchy with these pages as well. So I could have a main page essentially, and then have a sub page underneath that. You know, if you run out of space on the page, then you can create those sub pages as well. Again, I'm going to show you how to do that. But I can browse through my different notebooks. So I am in my resources notebook at the moment. I've got, you know, there's my holiday notebook. I'm going to show you in a second. I've got one for my PD notes. I've got a couple of test ones and, you know, ones I've used in training as well. So this is the full OneNote desktop app. This is the one that Microsoft will be proceeding with and kind of working on over the coming years, essentially. If I switch over now to OneNote for Windows 10, I will admit I do prefer this interface because I like the fact that my sections essentially are in this vertical layout with my pages. So that's just a personal thing for me. But you'll notice that you don't have a proper ribbon in here. So it's kind of a cut down version ribbon up the top here. So I do have some basic formatting tools. I can, you know, apply headings. I have my dictate function here, which is awesome. I'm going to show you that soon. You know, I can still insert a majority of the main things that I want to use, things like pictures and printouts. Again, I'm going to show you through what those do. But you don't have all of the different functions that you have in the other app. Excuse me. We've got our drawing tools in here. So as I said, I'm going to demo on my Wacom little tablet I've got here. And then I've also got another add-in installed on here for class notebooks because I do work with education as well. And education actually has dedicated class defined notebooks, so they can do a whole bunch of different things that we can't do in the commercial side of it, essentially. So I've got that installed as well. Now I'm just going to show you a few of, you know, my little OneNote files here. So as I said, I've got my resources OneNote. You'll actually see that there is this little recycling kind of icon on it. It's just letting me know that it needs to synchronize. So it needs to synchronize with my files. And essentially that would mean that when I sync this, all of my changes that I might have made in the file will be saved. And then that way, if I access them on another device, I'm going to get those changes show up. So one of the things that I do find with clients is that they get a little bit worried where they've put content into their OneNote file and they're trying to access it on a separate device and it's not showing up. And it's really honestly just a matter of doing that synchronize and the files will sync and everything will be as it should be again. So I'm just going to show you through this Europe holiday one because this is my dream Europe holiday. Now, one of the things that I actually did with this one was, just to give a little bit of backstory here, my best friend was living in Glasgow. So the plan was I was going to go over, we're going to do a nice 3-week holiday, see a little bit of Europe, go up into Glasgow, etc. Now, we were sending each other a lot of links back and forth. You know, she would send me something in the local area, we've got to go here and we've got to go see this and we're going to go look at this castle and we can stay here in maybe in Liverpool or Manchester. But I was losing track of the links. So literally I just set this up really quickly and I shared it with her. So she was in Glasgow and we both worked on this. So we would put all of our links in here. We were able to, you know, combine things together. So, you know, for London, I was like, okay, here's all the places I want to go. I put pictures of them. I put links to the different tours that we wanted to do. I could put pricing in here. It really made that process much, much easier. So we were able to completely plan the entire trip. We were going to do a little stint in Rome. So, you know, I had things in here for the Colosseum. We had this is where we were going to stay. We'd already booked our Airbnb, all that sort of stuff. So this was a really fun one, obviously, but definitely one that worked really well with OneNote. Now I've got my PD notes in here. Now I've got my 2018, 2019 PD notes in here. You know, like most people, I've just been doing meetups and that sort of stuff online for the last few years. But what I really liked about the fact with my PD stuff is I can embed videos. So for instance, WordCamp is it's for WordPress, which is a web design platform. I went to that conference. They live streamed all of their sessions, which was fantastic. They uploaded them to YouTube. So I literally was able to embed all of the YouTube presentations into my OneNote, and I can watch them from within OneNote. So you can see I've got a little play button on these. I literally just hit the play button, the video starts. I don't have to go to YouTube and find the channel. I don't have to go find the video and Google search for it or anything like that. So I'm going to show you how to put these in. Really, really simple, but makes that process of, you know, saving those resources much, much easier. All right, I think what we might do now though is I'm going to go ahead and create a new notebook, and we're just going to go and have a little play around with some of the features that we have. All right, so I'm just going to go into my notebook section here, and you can see there's my existing ones. There are more in my file. These are just the most recent ones that I've accessed. I'm just going to go ahead here and add in a new notebook, and I'm just going to give it a name. So let's just call this one Meetup Demo. And I'm just going to make sure that I do put it into not my personal account, but my Microsoft 365 account, just because I want to put it so it's synchronizing across the cloud and I can access it from whatever device. If you just have a Microsoft account, you might not have a subscription, you can do it through there as well. So that's perfectly fine. So it's just going to go ahead and create that for me. It'll do it onto the cloud as well. The amount of time I've spent watching things load. I don't know about anybody else, but it's been a lot. Come on, OneNote. I do apologize. My computer is a little bit slow at the moment. I'm about to do an upgrade on that one.
Maybe a quick question while it's doing that.
If you've got any questions, feel free to pop in.
Quick question while that's loading. How do you delineate what you'll do in OneNote versus what you're doing in your task project management software? Do you have a boundary in your mind?
No, not specifically. Like for me personally, I tend to stick with OneNote just because it's part of the ecosystem and I can use it within like I can integrate it into Outlook as well. So I can, you know, email myself files, that sort of stuff out of Outlook and then send content into OneNote. So I guess everyone is just gonna, you know, come up with their idea on how they're going to do that. I don't have a particular suggestion on, you know, best practice or anything like that, but I tend to stick with OneNote myself as my platform for that.
Because it sounds like you're doing your kind of thinking and planning and storing reference information in OneNote, but then you probably make your task list and other stuff elsewhere.
Yeah, so I've got task lists in OneNote, but I also use Microsoft Project for some of my more project planning stuff. But my idea and the planning side of it is definitely there, whereas I use Project for the more definitive, okay, this is task 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, all that sort of stuff, putting in durations and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's definitely an ideas area, because I don't know about anybody else, but I can be walking my daughter to school and come up with an idea. I think, oh, I've got to remember that. And then I'll get home and I'm like, what was that idea again? I know I thought of it. So at least now, you know, we usually have our phone with us in our pocket. I can just pull that out really quickly and jump into my OneNote app and quickly just write a little bit of text, or I can dictate it on the phone. It makes it easy and record it, I should say. And then that way I've got something to go back to.
Super. Thanks, Belinda.
All right, so my little OneNote file has now created itself called Meetup Demo. And you can see it just puts itself in a brand new section. Now I'm just going to go ahead and create some little dummy sections in here just for us to be able to play with today. So I'm going to go right mouse click on my section here and rename it. You can do all sorts of stuff. You know, you can put change your section colors and you can pin it to the start and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to go rename this. I might just call this one admin. I'd like to add another little section in. So remember, think of your sections as those little dividing tabs that you would have in your folders and that sort of stuff. So I might create one for my meetings. I might create another section for, you know, my customers. And a final one for maybe products. Okay. Now, as I said, I can go in here and change the section colors, you know, so they really stand out. I do like some bright colors in there. Now, within each of these, you will have one untitled page already ready to go. So you can go in here and just put a little heading in for that, and that heading automatically becomes the name of that page. So, you know, I might have one in here for, you know, all my contact info that I want to record, or, you know, I could go in there and just put in little bits of information I find out about my contacts, you know, what their interests are, you know, so we've got conversational pieces to work with when we have meetings and that sort of stuff. I can also go in here and just add another page in. Maybe I'll put in some resources, etc., etc. So I can go and create, let's go upcoming agenda. Maybe I'll put in something, you know, maybe I might want to put in a bit of a calendar. So I can go through and just create all those page structures and that sort of stuff, and obviously create them as you need them as well. Now these sections, you can rearrange them really, really easy, drag and drop. Okay, we can just move them around as we want to. Same with your pages. You can just move the order of those around as you need to. My OCD usually kicks in a little bit and I want things to be in that certain order and etc. So you can do that really easily within that as well. Now, the other thing that we can do in here is, as I mentioned before, we can create subpages. So you might have a resources for productivity. And then I might want to have a couple of different subpages in here. Now, I can just go in and right mouse click on a page and make it a subpage. So you can see it actually becomes part of the one page above. All right, so I can create as many little subpages in there as I want to. So it does allow you to create that little bit of a hierarchy within the page structures within OneNote as well, which is quite useful. Now, in terms of adding content in, and I'm just going to promote that back to a normal page. So you can see you've got to make subpage, and then there was a promote option as well. Really, really click and type. So the one thing, it's not like a Word document. A lot of people think that you're going to go in there and, you know, you click and you type into the top left-hand corner of the page. I can literally click and put my cursor anywhere on here and say, here is where I can place some information. Now, when I type information in, we actually get what they call a container. So this becomes kind of like a little text box, if you will, that I can now drag and drop and move around to a different position. All right, so you don't get that kind of left margin lineup that you might get with a Word document. All right, so these are free flowing little objects now that I can kind of move around. I can make these bigger. So if I need to, I can kind of expand them or make them smaller. Maybe you've written a really long sentence and it's, you know, taking up half the width of the page. So you can resize these and kind of move them around and make them whatever size that you want. We do have some basic formatting tools in here. Obviously, when we are in the OneNote full app, we have a little bit more. But, you know, you can do all the general stuff, fonts, sizes, bold, italics, different colors, that sort of stuff. You can do bullet points and numbered lists in here really well. The other thing that it does do is it does what we call tags, and I'm going to show you tags in a minute because they're actually really, really very useful to use to just tag your content so that it kind of stands out from the rest. You can tag things as being important, you can tag them for follow-up, you can tag them with contact information, whatever you want to do. The other thing that you have within OneNote is the ability to use some heading styles. So again, this is kind of drawing from what we know from Word. We've got our basic heading 1, heading 2s, etc., etc. So again, it allows you to get that little bit of consistency with your formatting and that. So a lot of the time within these containers, I will kind of make sure I put some type of heading at the top. So I can just put in a couple of extra lines here. I'm not being very original with my text this morning, but I can go in there and assign that as a heading 1 and it will format for me. Really common thing I get asked is, oh, can we change what the heading 1 styles look like? Nope, Microsoft haven't built that part in yet. So it isn't like Word in that sense that I can go in and modify the styling. We're kind of stuck with what they're giving us at the moment, but I'm hoping in the future that that's going to change a little bit. So that's, our click and type process. Now I can go and grab information out of any other app. So whether it's, a PowerPoint or a Word document or Excel spreadsheet, I can copy and paste that content across just like we would traditionally be able to do. So that's definitely not a problem. But the other things that we can do here, and I'm going to just quickly, I want to switch over to the other app, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and load that particular one in. Now I can see that it doesn't have the real recycling little kind of icon there for synchronize. So everything should be synced on that one there. But if I go back in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and find that notebook and open it up in the full app. All right, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go and browse. Oops, I should have browsed to my actual online file. There we go. There's my Meetup demo here file that I've created today. So I'm going to open that one up into the full desktop app. Just because I want to show you some of the extra stuff that we do have in here. And I'll just switch between the two for certain features. Now it's loading in. If you find again that you don't have some things there, then you'll just need to let that synchronize happen. And then it will eventually pull that information in. So you can see I don't have the content here yet. So I'll wait and that will synchronize as we're kind of working through. Now, some of the really nice things that we can do is inserting content. So we know that we end up with a lot of resources. You'll have PDF files, web links, all that sort of stuff. Now we can do things like traditional tables in here, works pretty much the same as what you would get in a Word document. So I can go ahead and pop a little table in. I can resize the container open a little bit bigger so that then I can, resize my columns. So it's not 100% the same as creating a table in Word, but it's pretty close. I can go in there and, I've got all my little table tab comes up here up on the ribbon, so I can, delete, add in. I've got some basic functionality with borders and shading, alignments, that sort of stuff. I can sort within the tables as well, which is lovely. But one of the two things that I really like is the file printout and the file attachment. I'm going to do the file attachment first because this is the one most people are kind of, there we go, there's my little bit of text is coming from the synchronize. I'm going to go in and just do a file attachment. We're kind of used to that where, we attach files to our emails, that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to go into this and I'm just going to go to my, actually, no, I'm going to use that file that I just had. So I've just got a little PDF file here. So I'm going to add it in. It'll load it in, it'll put it in, and I can choose whether I actually do want to attach the file or if I want to insert it as a printout, which is the same as if I was just to use the file printout button directly. So I'm going to go just attach file for the moment. So it's going to go ahead and put that file in. You can see I've got the little PDF now. Now that's clickable. So I can double click on that and it will ask me, do I want to open the file? I can just click yes or open. Okay, sorry. And it will go ahead and load up. And it's just opened on my other screen, but there we go. There's my PDF file has opened. Now, your alternative for that is actually to have that printout or that attachment showing in the page its actual self. So that's what the file printout option does. So I'm going to go do the exact same thing with that same file, but you'll see that I end up with the actual file content popping itself into my actual OneNote file. All right, so it's just a 2-page document. It's just a little excerpt that I got off the Microsoft website here. But now I've got it showing in my actual page. So I can see the content without actually having to open it. They do still give you the PDF. So if you wanted to double click that and open it, you can. But that file printout I really like because I can see the content straight away. I don't have to go and open the file to kind of view it, which is awesome. You can see you can embed your spreadsheets. You can even create a new Excel spreadsheet through the OneNote app itself. It embeds it into your OneNote. And then it'll also work with Visio. Visio, if anybody's using Visio, great diagramming program, create flowcharts, network diagrams, pretty much whatever you want, floor layouts, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, so they're the types of files that we can kind of work with. We also have things like our traditional putting pictures in and that sort of stuff. So I'm going to go into maybe one of my other sections here, and I'm just going to go, actually I'll go into my products. I'm going to go to product pics. Maybe I'm just started working within this role and I'm, forgetting what all the products are called. So I can go in and put some products in. So I'm just going to go in and put some easy pictures in here. I'm just going to go to my desktop and I've got a demo folder in here. Just got a couple of photos of some shoes. Nothing fancy, but I can pop those photos in. Again, I can, move them around, make them smaller if I want to. I could add some text into that as well. So those containers are all movable. Now, the other thing I can do is screen clipping. Now, screen clipping is in all of the Microsoft apps, but again, I still tend to find people are still using the good old print screen. But screen clipping will essentially allow me to screen clip anything on my screen. So what I can do here is, and I would need to activate, the actual page, but I could just screen clip out that section and it automatically puts it straight into my OneNote file for me. All right, so, and it does even timestamp it for you, date stamp it, so you know when you did it. But that's now in there as a graphic, and I can now work with that and have that content in my page. Again, you've got your online pictures and that sort of stuff. We can work with online videos. Now that's going to allow us to just put the URL in, but in all honesty, I just completely put the YouTube video straight into the thing. So I'm going to show you that in a second. But they're kind of those main items that we want to put in. You've got things like date and time. You can put that sort of stuff in. We've got page templates. I'm going to come back and show you that in a second, because that's a really big area of OneNote that I find really makes things a lot easier, especially for clients that I help set these up with. So I'm going to come back and show you that in a second. What I want to show you right now, though, because we're on the topic of images, is I do want to show you the OCR technology. So that's that optical character recognition part of OneNote. So I have got my phone here with me. I'm just going to go in here. So I have all the Microsoft apps on my phone, obviously. So I've got OneNote on here, so I can open up the little, and I don't think people are going to see it with the glare, but I've got my little OneNote app here. I'm going to go in and just open up that new Meetup that we've just created. So I'm going to go into more notebooks. There's my Meetup demo. All right, and then I can open it. I can see my sections. They're all in there. So I can access this now, and I could add notes in here and it will show up on my computer screen and all that sort of stuff. Now, one of the other apps that I have on my phone is called Lens. It's called Office Lens, Lens. It is fantastic because it lets me take photos of content and I can send it through to OneNote. So I actually use this, I was using it when we were doing a lot of in-person events. So, I don't know about you, but you go to an event now and everybody has their phone out taking photos of the screen. All right, you're trying to capture that information. What I can actually do here is I can capture that through Microsoft Lens. It will actually identify essentially screens. You can even use this with a whiteboard. So if I've got a client that's written out a whole bunch of stuff on a whiteboard, I will capture that with Microsoft Lens and it will let me send that photo into whatever app that I want to, and essentially I'm working with OneNote here. So what I actually have, yesterday I was at Woolworths, last night, grabbed the last recipe book just because, I could. I'm going to take a photo of a bit of text out of this magazine. So let me just find something. All right. So I'm going to take a photo with my Lens app. So just 1 second while I do that. Now, what it actually comes up with, I obviously can't show you this, so you can see a little bit of it. There we go. It actually asks me to kind of define the area out of that photo that I've taken. So what I can do is use the little moving markers and I can kind of move it so that it just covers and circles the text part that I want to pull out of this. And I can just confirm that. It then comes up showing me a little bit of the graphic of the text. And then you do things like add filters and all that, but I don't want to do that. I just want to get this data into OneNote because I want to be able to work with it. So now it gives me the option of exporting this to a different app, essentially. I can save it to my local photos and lots of stuff. I can PDF it here, but I can send it to OneNote, OneDrive, Word, or PowerPoint. So I'm going to choose OneNote and it's going to come up and ask me, okay, where do you want to put it? Now it has a title here. It automatically will title the page with my date and time, and then it will just say Microsoft Lens on it. All right, you can change it if you wanted to, but I want you to see it how it is. So the location is coming up and I can go in now and I can say, okay, I'd like it to go into that new Meetup demo file that we just created. So I've just got to find it in the list. Where are you? There it is. Too many notebooks in there to browse through. So I've chosen that I want it to go into the Meetup demo, and then it asks me, okay, which section do you want it to go in? I'm going to go and put it into the meetings section because I don't have anything in there at the moment. So let me just open that. Oh, I've got the 2 pages, but there's no content. I'm going to go ahead and save that, and it's now transferring that. Now we'll be able to watch this live and see this actual extra page pop in once it synchronizes properly. And there it is. It just popped right in for me. So if I click on this now, there's that little bit of graphic, and it's not, you know, I was a little bit, you know, a bit moving there. So I can resize that picture. It's now a picture in my file. But this is the really cool part. So what I can do here is I can right mouse click on the picture and say, I want to copy the text out of the picture. All right. Okay, it'll do that for me. And then I can just click somewhere on the page, do a paste. There it is. Now, because I was a little bit, you know, it's not a crystal clear photo, it has messed up some of this, but it will otherwise get this pretty accurate. Like I did a little test to make sure everything was working right. And yeah, I just got a recipe out. It had all the steps, had all the ingredients, all that sort of stuff. So it's got feet because it's a little bit blurry, but otherwise that OCR recognition is actually quite good. So obviously you just need to make sure your photo is a bit better than what my effort was with that. So just remember, you need the Microsoft Office Lens app, free app. You can just go and grab it from the Apple Store or from your Android. You can grab it through there, and it automatically, once you set it up, it'll allow you to sign into your Microsoft account, and then it will allow you to kind of synchronize your content. So now I can kind of use that information. I can do a bit of a tidy up. I can do some formatting in it if I want to. And that will actually allow me to use that content within my OneNote now. I would go in here and, you know, change the title. There we go. And if you want to leave the picture in there, you leave the picture in there. That's no problems, because then you've got the text version and the graphical version of that, which is really good. Okay, so that's our OCR. And as I said, definitely grab that app on your phone as well, because that's a really, really good one. Now, I want to show you now our audio and video. So in terms of using the audio and video in here, you've got a few options. Now, I can't demo the video one because I'm using my video at the moment for our Zoom. So if I do that, it's not going to work. But one of the things that you can do is directly record audio. So if you want to have, you know, you want to practice some speech, or you want to talk through an idea rather than writing it, you can record it. So I'm just going to I'm just in a random page here. I'm just going to hit my record audio button. And it is now going to start recording, and you will get this little extra tab comes up on the ribbon for you. I can see that I'm 6 seconds in on that record. I can pause it, I can stop it, all that sort of stuff. You've got your audio and video settings in here as well. So obviously if you find that it's not working, maybe double check that it's using the right microphone on your computer, all that sort of stuff. So it'll go through, you can record as much content into that. Bear in mind, you know, if you record 4 hours worth of content, it's going to kind of balloon up the size of your file a bit. But you can definitely go in here and talk through the idea that you've got rather than writing it, which I do find that quite often is a good idea. I'm much better and articulated sometimes when I'm speaking rather than having to type. Now I'm just going to stop that. So that audio recording will stop. And now I'm in playback. All right, so now I'm in the stage where I can play this back. So I can hit play on that. And it is now going to start recording, and you will get this little extra tab come up on the All right, so the playback is working. I can rewind and fast forward, etc. So that's now saved into my file. Now, obviously, you would want to go in here and possibly, you know, rename things. So I can go in and right mouse click and rename it. And then that way you can put a little description underneath here, underneath your timestamp, put in a heading, whatever you want to. But that's now going to be saved in as part of that file. The same process works for the video as well. But as I said, I'm using my video for the Zoom, so I can't demo that. But again, you can watch that video back, and it's going to be embedded as part of that OneNote. I do find the video and audio really good when I'm collaborating with somebody else within the file, because rather than trying to write an explanation for things, I can speak it, or I can talk it, or I can demo, and you know, people can actually physically see what's happening within that. It's a bit more interactive, as you will. All right, now a few other little tools that we have here in terms of some of the really nice inclusive kind of areas that we've got in here. And these are some of the features that really drew me to OneNote in the first place. And these are actually something that I've taught my kids how to use. Sorry about that. All right, so I do have a dictate function here. And I'm in the OneNote for Windows 10 right now. 1 second, I'm just going to mute for a second. Sorry, allergies playing up at the moment, so it's not liking my throat. All right, so we've got dictate, and we also have another tool called Immersive Reader. So I don't know about you, but when you've got a lot of text, you sometimes just don't feel like reading it. So Immersive Reader is actually built into OneNote. It will read content to you. So let me go in here. All right, I've just put a little bit more text in here. I'm going to go and just turn Immersive Reader on. All right, and it'll start up. Now you actually have Immersive Reader in quite a few of the Microsoft apps. Some of them don't have the full Immersive Reader functionality, but they have what we call Read Aloud. Whereas Immersive Reader, you can see that I've got things like, I've got the different nouns and all that sort of stuff are highlighted, etc. But I can hit the play button right now.
Here is my heading. Here is where I can place some information. We can add some more text so that the Immersive Reader can tell us what's happening. Audio recording started, 9:40.
Now you have the ability to speed the speaking up, so the speed. You can also change the actual voice from female to male. And you can see here's my voice speed. I can even go down to the turtle speed, or I can go up to the rabbit speed, which is super fast. All right. But you've got some grammar options in here. So you can see I've got all of these on. So I'm actually getting it to highlight things like my nouns, my verbs, my adjectives, and my adverbs. And I can even get little labels on there. So really good. If you can have all of those off, but you can sit back, grab a coffee, let it read the content to you. That's a really good one. Now, probably more, I probably use the dictate function a bit more because, again, it's going to allow me to get content into that OneNote without me even having to type. And the dictate function is not as good, and I'm always honest with this. The learning tools that I've added into OneNote, the desktop app, it does have a dictate, but it doesn't recognize commands for a new sentence or a new paragraph, etc. Okay, so the dictation in OneNote for Windows 10 is definitely the better option. So I'm going to demo this. So I'm going to hit my dictate. And now I'm going to start talking, and OneNote is going to start adding that text into my page. I can tell it full stop, new paragraph, and it puts in a new paragraph for me. Oh, so you do need to be a little bit clear on what you're saying. And I do find that when I'm dictating, the one thing that you do is you'll notice when you say a lot, like I just did, but I can do full stop, new paragraph. I can continue talking. And obviously at the end of this, I would go back and tidy this up because there's going to be words in there that I've added in just as I'm thinking out loud, and I want to go back and be able to fix those up. But this is a really quick way of you being able to get some ideas down into the app without you having to even touch the keyboard. I tend to find this is really good in all of the other apps too. So you can do this in your Outlook. So if you're trying to write up an email and you don't want to sit and type it, you can dictate it instead. All right, so I've turned that off. So I would need to go and do a little bit of tidy up on this. But at least I've got the main ideas and I can kind of play around with the text then and kind of move it around and all that sort of stuff as well. All right, next thing I want to show you is I'm going to show you the annotation and that sort of stuff. So if you are on a device where you do have, a pen, you've got a, tablet or whatever it might be, I've just got my little Wacom tablet here that I use. So that's connected. So all I'm going to do is just go up here and go to my draw features. And I'm not using my mouse anymore. I'm using my little pen. You do have your little pen options here. Now, this is very, very similar to what you have access to in the app as well. But I'm going to go into the app and show you it on the full app. All right, just going to stick in that area. So I'm going to go to maybe customers. There we go. And now I'm going to go to draw. Now you've got your lasso little item here. I can use my panning hand to move around. I can erase, and I've got all my little pen options here. I'm just going to grab one of those. You can change the color and the thickness of the pens and all that sort of stuff as well. You can do shapes. But I'm just going to go in here and say Belinda. Let's be honest, we can never write well on the screen as it is. So, but I can go in here. I can make all my little notes if I want to. And you've got things like your different converting options as well. So one of the really nice things that you can do is I'm going to activate the ink to shape. All right, so if I draw a really dodgy looking square, OneNote makes it into a nice perfect square for me. Okay, if I do a triangle, triangle there, I can do a rectangle. There we go. I've got, they're not in any way, shape or form perfect, but OneNote just converts them over to a perfect shape for me. I can also do my ink to text. So if I have written some text in here and you're like, okay, I need that to be proper text that I can edit now, I'm going to grab my little lasso tool over here. And then I'm going to go and draw around that text. And what I can do is go ink to text. All right, it just converts it straight over for you. The other thing that you can do in here is work with maths as well. So if I get some ink here, I'm just going to get my pen back. Let's go, okay, I'm going to go x plus, let's go 3 squared equals 4. And what I can do here again is I can lasso that. Now, this is obviously for anybody who's doing mathematical stuff. Lasso that. Now I'm just going to grab this because I went to my other screen, and then I can go. Now it's picked up it's converted that text into the mathematical equation, and then I can convert it. All right, so you can go in here and write your content and then have OneNote convert it over to written text within the actual app itself, which is quite good with that. So that's just a couple of the little annotation options here, but obviously if you wanted to, you could completely use your pen and just write your content into here and leave it as that. The nice thing that it does do though is that that text, like if I want to move any of this, you can see we have a container around it. I'm just going to switch back to my mouse now. So I can move that around. All right, so all of these are little movable elements now that I can kind of work with within that. All right, next thing I want to show, because I'm just being conscious of time, because we want to leave some time for some questions here, is tags. Now, I love these. If you would have seen in my actual files, I had a lot of little points of information on some stuff. So what you can actually do in here is use these tags. So there's actually quite a lot of them pre-made for you, but you can go in here and create your own. You'll see that some of them have a shortcut assigned to them. So for instance, if I want to mark something in my OneNote as being important, I can just click in it and use Control-2, and it puts the little important star next to it. All right, so I can do things like if I have a question in here at some stage, what is the time frame for this? I can go in and do Control-3, and it puts the little question mark next to the title there. So it does let you make your important stuff stand out. You can put mark it as contact information, address, sales inquiry, phone numbers, a password that you might have in there, a whole bunch of different options in here. One of the really nice things that I do like is the to-do list. And this is one that you can probably use with your task, with any kind of to-do. You can use it with your home stuff. But I can go in here and create a to-do list. I can say, I need to start my computer. I need to log in. You can put all your little marks in there, and then these are clickable. So I can go and activate and turn these off as well. All right, so you can go select those. You can automatically create your to-do tags just from the button. And then the other thing you can do is do a find for your tags as well. So if you've got a lot of tags and you want to find a specific one, you can click that little button. It'll open up an overview or a summary. And then that way it's going to let you go and find that. So I can click on it from here and it actually takes me and highlights that content within the OneNote file. So it definitely makes it a lot easier to find. You know, you might have remembered that you marked something important a couple of days ago, but now you can't find what page it's on. So if you go into your tag summary, it does have down the bottom of what you are searching at the moment. We're only searching this current notebook, but I could search all of my notebooks, or I can, you know, define that a little bit more if I needed to. So your tags are definitely a huge time saver, and they're going to allow you to kind of mark your items so that they're going to stand out amongst, you know, what will end up being potentially a noisy page. So you can do that. Now, on top of that, we also have, I mentioned before, the templates. Now, the page templates, as I said, this is a huge time saver because, and I only had this about a month and a half ago. A client had contacted me and said, oh, we need to create a page that, well, we've got the page, but we want to use it so that we can keep inserting it without having to copy and paste the content and all that sort of stuff every time. So they were using OneNote for Windows 10 and it doesn't have this function. All right, so there's, oh, there we go, Immersive Reader gave you an error. All right, so it doesn't have the page templates in here. All right, so you do need to use the full desktop app for this particular feature. But what you've got in here is you do have some pre-made little page templates. So things like meeting notes, a simple to-do list. So I can go in and go and put that in. And you'll see I now have a new page over here on the left. And it's already got a pre-configured kind of designed little template page for me. And I've got a whole bunch of items I can add my to-do list in. All right, so it's just there ready to go. But you can create your own of these. So if I, for instance, added or went into my contact info page, and then, you know, let's pretend that I wanted to use this as a template. Maybe I've got my table already set up and it's empty and I'm ready to go. I can go in here and actually go in and save this page template. So I'm going to go in here. You'll see all the little options, but there is a My Templates area. I've got a meeting template and also a contact table template. But down the very bottom here, I can go and save the current page as a template. So I'm going to go and call this my, I don't know, we'll call this contact info. And I can hit save there. It will now be part of my templates, which it is. So now I can go into any section that I want to, and I can essentially just insert that new page template. So huge time saver. It does mean that you obviously have to set your page up first, but then save it as a template, and then that way you've got it really quickly to be able to add in every time. And you can also set a default template. At the moment, when we add in a new page, you just get a blank page, but down the bottom here in that template section, you can say every new page that we put in, please use this particular template. So that's a really good one to use also. Now, last few things that we want to have a look at is next is the fact that we can share our files. Now, I mentioned that I did this, you know, with my friend in Glasgow, but we can obviously share this with other users and all that sort of stuff. So you've got that collaboration happening within OneNote. Now, I can go into the File tab here and just go to Share, and it's going to load up the little share screen for me. And I can just go in and invite people using their email address, or if they're part of my organization, I can just type their name in. And then that will send them. So, you know, I could say that I want to invite Tanya. And I'm going to specify over here whether she can edit the file or whether I wanted to just be able to view it. So you do have those two options. And then I can go in and hit the share button. Now it'll send an email through to Tanya and invite her to come and start collaborating with that with me on that file. Now, the other way that I highly recommend that you use OneNote is if you are using Teams. Teams is a bit of a favorite one with me. I do love Teams. So I've just loaded quickly Teams in here because one of the things that happens within Teams that a lot of people don't realize is they actually get a OneNote file for every single one of their team channels. All right, so sorry, for their team. So what I could do is in here, you can see I've got OneNote. I've actually got a OneNote file loading into my team so that everybody within the team can actually collaborate on this particular file. So what I actually had was my OneNote training notes that I use was traditionally in Word. I have converted it into actual OneNote. So I can send this out to the clients that I do training with. And they've got training notes on how to use OneNote actually in OneNote. So good little point for them to start browsing and that sort of stuff. But so all I've done is embedded this into my team. And so now there's a little tab at the very top here for training notes. So if somebody wants to get some info about a particular topic, they can come in here, pick the section and then go and view the content for those. But you do have a default notebook for every single one of your teams. So if you are using Microsoft Teams, I highly recommend you go and add it in. By default, Teams creates what we call a wiki, which is like a cut down version of OneNote. I don't tend to use that myself. You can see I've got a little QR code on here, but I can go in and instead add in the default OneNote file for this particular team. So if I go and add in a tab here, I'm going to say that I want to add in a OneNote tab. It'll ask me, okay, what OneNote file do you want me to add in? So it's going to go and fetch a list. And you'll see that there is actually a default notebook for this team. All right, so I'm just going to add that default notebook in. And now rather than everybody within this current team kind of having their own OneNote files doing different things and all that sort of stuff, now I actually have the actual OneNote within my team. And so everybody's able to access it. We can go in here and add content. Everybody's going to be able to see that. I can just rename this up the top here. Say this is our OneNote file. There we go. So definitely really good integration, OneNote with Microsoft Teams. Awesome. Allows you to do that really well. Now, I just want to quickly tell you about a couple of other little things that we do have that are good extra tools to use within OneNote. One is that the OneNote.com website actually allows you to set up a special email address because what it allows you to do then is use that email address to email yourself content, and it actually goes straight into your OneNote files. So you do have to set up a dedicated kind of email address, and then you use that to forward your content to. And you do have to tell it what notebook file you want it to go into, etc. But that will allow you to email in. I won't do a demo of that today. But the other really cool thing that you might notice I have installed on my, and I'm just using Google Chrome at the moment, but on my browser, I have the OneNote Web Clipper. So that's what it's called. It's a little extension that you can add. It is actually by OneNote themselves. And what it means that is if I'm on a website and I'm like, oh, really like that content, maybe I don't want to save the whole web page itself, which I'm going to show you how to do in a second. But what I can do is open up the OneNote little clipper, and I can tell it that I want to clip the full page, just a region, the article, or whatever it might be. In this case, I'm just going to do a region. Right, it'll let me go and highlight that section that I want to clip. And then I can tell it where I want it to put it. So I can go in here and say, okay, where's my Meetup? This hasn't synchronized yet. Okay, it's not synchronized yet, so it's not showing up. I'm just going to quickly put it into one of these, and then it'll clip it straight in for me. And that will then show up in the OneNote file, nice and easy for me. Now, otherwise, if you wanted to put the whole web address in, you could just select the file, the URL out, pop into your into your OneNote file and paste that straight in. Pops it straight in. You might put a little bit of a heading or blurb or whatever it is. But if you've got YouTube content that you want, this is the one I mentioned before. I've just got a little YouTube video here, just of a demo file that I use. I'm just going to copy the address out. And again, I'm going to go into OneNote. And I'm going to go in and paste this in on a new page. Now, all I did was paste the URL. It's now embedded the whole YouTube video into the actual page. So it does have a link through to the YouTube file itself. but I can play this video now within OneNote. And so that'll start playing for me. And I can watch it through OneNote rather than me having to go out to YouTube and find the channel every time and that sort of stuff. All right, so that's now playing within my OneNote file. So definitely get the web clipper. OneNote web clipper is the little add-on. You can get it for all of the popular web browsers. And then, as I said, with the YouTube content, you can just embed that directly straight into your file. All right, that's pretty much me done. That's all the demo stuff I wanted to show. So I'll hand back to Glenn and we'll do a bit of Q&A if anyone's got any questions about what I've just gone over.
Thanks, Belinda. That was a great presentation. I've got a whole heap of questions I've written down, some of which you've answered as you've gone through your presentation, but let's see what questions we have from other people. I know a couple of people, Sandra and Fiona, had to move on to other meetings, but said thank you very much. So yes, please just come off mute and feel free to join the conversation, ask Belinda your questions directly, or if you prefer, you can type your questions into the chat and I can help Belinda address those. I'll kick off with maybe a question while we're letting people get their thoughts together, Belinda. You showed the permissions you can give people access to a notebook, either to edit or just to view it. Can you control permissions at the sections or the page level within a notebook, or only at the notebook level?
Yeah, you can. So one of the things that you can do is password protect your sections. So you might want to give them access to everything but one area. And so from here, you can actually right mouse click and go in and password protect a particular section, and then that will block access to that unless they have the password to get into it.
Okay, super.
Yeah. No questions. I must have covered a lot then.
I like the way you showed the link to Teams as well. And do you actually, like if you were delivering a course to a group of people, would you set them up as a team in Teams and then use OneNote to share the content and take them on the learning journey? Or do you do that in a different way? Or could you do it that way if you wanted to?
Yeah, you could absolutely do it that way. It just depends on what the group is wanting to achieve. If they're like, I'm about to do training tomorrow with Planner and Teams, so I'm definitely going to integrate those two together. But if they wanted to look at that, then yeah, absolutely, I'd do it that way. I converted those training notes over purely for part of that reason, to kind of make it, you know, be in that real world scenario. We're using OneNote to actually work with training notes. We're traditionally used to using a Word document for that. But yeah, you could work with it all. I just think that people don't realize that that OneNote file is there as part of a team. They see the wiki tab and they go, oh, I don't know what a wiki is, which is essentially just a cut down OneNote anyway. But yeah, putting that full OneNote capability into the team is a huge time saver, because again, the whole team then can put notes in, little tidbits that they've, you know, found, or ideas. And you can even do whiteboard sharing and that sort of stuff in there as well. So you can share a whiteboard and collaborate as well.
Belinda, I had one question, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
I wanted to ask about search, actually, because what I find that when, for example, I'm searching, it usually tries to search on the same page, and then I need to change it to what notebook I want the search to be. Is there any way to actually set it to a defaultive search, or if it's all notebooks, for example?
So when I go, so I'm just in the OneNote for Windows 10. I do tend to like the search in there a little bit better. You know, I'm going to love it once they finally can converge the two together. But you can see in here, I can go in and do a search across all notebooks, the current notebook, a current section, or a current page. But there's no way to kind of tell it.
So I need to define them.
Yeah. So you can't tell it to use a default setting for that. But you can go in here and easily pick which one you want to search from.
Yeah.
And what about in the other
awesome.
version of OneNote, then, in case Layout is using that? How would you do that?
So you've got with your search in here, I traditionally just use my Control F. It's got the find on page setting.
Yeah.
That will let you do the search there. But yeah, the OneNote one is definitely a little bit more comprehensive in certain areas.
Sure.
and it'll be good definitely once they merge together, and that should be by the end of the year, they're saying. So fingers crossed that does happen.
Oh, nice.
Good
Good to know.
Yeah, there was
And what about Wiki? Sorry, what about Teams? The Teams, yeah, Wiki. It's more the Teams when it's connected to Teams.
Yeah.
As far as I know, it's search is just if you do the search, the search is done only on the space that you're in.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're doing it through
Notebook,
Teams,
yeah.
I need to search that one. Yeah, because a lot of the time the OneNote file you're actually accessing is just for that particular team, so it's a permissions issue. So it's not going to go and search your private ones as well, and that sort of stuff. So it comes down to usually a security setting.
Yeah, thank you.
No problems.
I think Olaf might have a question, one of our regular attendees.
Thank you, Belinda. That was actually fantastic and opened up a new world for me. I've sort of used OneNote in a very simplistic way, and obviously I hope to convert to a more sophisticated use of OneNote.
Yeah.
I noticed you were doing a audio file that you build up.
Yeah.
Can that audio file as well, once you've recorded it, be converted to text, or do you need to dictate it straight into text?
Yeah, no, you certainly not that I've seen anyway. If I'm going to want it in a text format, I definitely just dictate straight out rather than using the record audio option. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you'd probably have to take that file into an otter.ai kind of Olaf, and then bring it back.
Yeah.
Thank you, but I'll definitely be using the Office Lens. That was a great little feature there.
Yeah, Office Lens is awesome. I love that one. A lot of people don't know about that app, so good one to go and install.
Yep. And is that freely available, or is
it is. Yeah. So just go through to your app store, whichever, whether you're on Android or Apple, just search for Office Lens and you'll find it. You can download it.
Sensational. Very keen to start using that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problems.
And for Apple users, Belinda, they're going to get Office 365. They're going to get OneNote as part of that on their desktop?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you get the only difference with the OneNote when you've got the 365 subscription is that you do get the online version, so you can access it through a web browser. But otherwise, OneNote's free anyway, so you can go and grab either of those apps. But yeah, if you don't have the desktop app yet, then definitely go get that, because that's the one that Microsoft will continue with. Whereas the one for Windows 10 will eventually essentially be phased out.
And you demonstrated the use of OneNote with the Wacom tablet. There's other tablets like the Remarkable or an iPad.
Same deal.
Yeah, you've chosen to use the Wacom one over those.
It's because I have one. My kids both use Apple iPads, and they go into their OneNotes and they'll use their finger to draw on them. So, or the Apple Pen. So yeah, all works the same across the board.
Okay, and there'll be user guides online about how to set up OneNote. Have you seen anything that's more how to set up OneNote using a GTD approach in terms of structuring your notebooks and your sections, etc.?
No, I haven't seen it directly into that, but one of the websites that I do like is that OneNote.com website. They do have a lot of content and resources on there. I've got a little bit of stuff on my training website, which is thetraininglady.com. There's some OneNote content on there just about, identifying versions and that sort of stuff. But I'll also go into the Meetup, and I'll leave a link to those on there as well, so you can have those links in there, because I've got a improving productivity with OneNote article on my business site as well. So that's another good one. Just some of the features, shortcuts and mainly the features that I've shown you as well anyway.
Yes. And you demonstrated the attaching files, or the preview of the file.
Yeah, the printout. Yep.
If it's a file that's being updated elsewhere, it's not dynamically going to update that, is it? Because you've updated a static version.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
So people need to think about if they want to, like if you embed an Excel graph or something, that might update when it's being updated elsewhere in the Excel file.
I'm trying to think whether it does or not, because I haven't embedded one where I've needed it to be. I normally just put it as an attachment because it's normally some type of resource that it's not my resource.
I'm just thinking about the equivalent of like if you create a graph in Excel and then you paste that into PowerPoint as a
you can put your Excel file in here, but you can edit the Excel file in OneNote. So that's going to keep it up to date. But you're not able to kind of link it through to a file on your desktop. So you can't provide the link. Whereas normally if you embed an Excel file, for instance, into a Word document, you can actually choose to link that through to the original file. So if the original file updates, that flows through to the actual Word document as well. You're not linking here, you're essentially putting it as a one-off. So what I would probably do is have that spreadsheet actually make sure you're editing it in OneNote, because then you're going to keep that one up to date.
Okay, that's good. Leah, do you have another question?
Yeah, actually, just as I said, I think before in one of the session, because I'm dyslexic and I have ADHD, sometimes I find it that using a functionality like the Dictate that you mentioned, which I didn't know that they have, is very good. But on that one, I wanted to ask if you tried to use that in addition to a voice recording. So if you're recording a session, just the voice, will it work together with the Dictate?
I've never tried to use them at the same time. Nice concept though, but yeah,
for my complex question.
I haven't actually tried to use them at the same time. My eldest daughter's ADHD. She has some learning difficulties, so she struggled in her early primary schooling years with reading and that sort of stuff. So I got her onto Immersive Reader and Dictate as well, because she had the thoughts. It was just the block was her getting it down onto paper. So I had her using Immersive Reader. The teacher would give her content. She would copy it into OneNote and then allow it to read it back for her. And then she would use the Dictate to be able to actually write out what she was thinking and that sort of stuff. And I found that Immersive Reader too was useful for her, because she'd read back what she'd written and then she would identify that that wasn't a very good sentence, or I've forgotten a full stop, because the Immersive Reader read it as one large sentence when it should have been broken into two. So definitely, but yeah, I haven't tried to do the record audio and Dictate at the same time. I would actually probably think it probably wouldn't work. And the reason that I would assume that that's my thinking is because the record audio is using the microphone, so it may not allow then a second function to use the microphone as well. But I mean, by all means, if it works, let us know on the Meetup and say, I tried it and it worked.
I'll definitely will try it.
Yeah, give it a go and let us know if it works side by side. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
No problems.
So I think in a way, OneNote becomes a bit like a personal intranet. And this subject of intranets and how we share information and collaborate in organizations, can Teams do that for us? Can OneNote do that for us? Have you come across preferences in the way that we should approach that at a team or organizational level?
Look, a lot of the time when people are talking about that type of thing, a lot of people jump to SharePoint. So Teams is run off SharePoint anyway. So a team has its own SharePoint site. That's definitely the intranet side of things. But yeah, you could absolutely kind of look at OneNote as being your own personal intranet. I honestly, I've got that many notebooks now that I know, I've got all my content set up, but yeah, definitely absolutely could be looked at it that way. But SharePoint's probably the one I would, if you wanted that sort of interface across your organization, that's where you'd probably go for it.
Super. Okay. The other thing that came up for me is when you demonstrated the templates. If I created a template and then I wanted to share that with somebody else so they could then start using that as a template.
Yeah, what you could do is actually put it into a shared notebook and then have them go in and actually save it as a template into their own.
Yep. So they would go
so you go into my admin section, there's a resources area, just go in, choose page templates and go and save that as a current template into their templates library.
Right. Okay, that's good. Yes, and you get each person to do that. So you can't have a shared template section.
Yeah, not at the moment. They don't have that ability. Yeah, I'm just trying to think whether you could do it through like SharePoint or something. Yeah, as far as I'm aware, there's not that ability, and it's certainly not built into OneNote. I mean, there'd probably be a workaround, but it would require some back end work and that sort of stuff to get things to work like that.
That's good.
Be nice if it would be nice if you could have all your OneNote templates saved to like the cloud or something and then share them through there. But yeah, not available at the moment, as to my knowledge anyway.
Okay. That's all I had on my list. Olaf, did you have any other questions that came to mind? It's been a really good opportunity to get beyond the surface of OneNote, because I think a lot of people have seen it and not understood the power of what it can do. And you've given us a very comprehensive introduction to it. So it's been great.
No problem.
Was fantastic. Thank you so much, Belinda. I mean, I've seen it used, and hopefully I'm able to elevate myself to a next level and really start using it in a better way. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Super. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being with us. And for those of you watching the recording, I hope you find it's a great resource. Please get in contact with Belinda if your team or your organization needs some extra help in taking the foundational knowledge you've gained today and working out how to create even more value with that as a team. We look forward to welcoming you back to future Meetup events. So please let us know if you've got topics that are of interest to you, or people you have in mind that you think would be good guest presenters to share their knowledge generously with people in the community. We look forward to catching up then.
No problems. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Belinda.
No worries. Bye.
Bye.